Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, The God Code Exposed. Death doesn't exist, but disappeared pilot transmits shocking message from the afterlife. On a cold, clear night in November, Flight 427 vanished from radar over the Atlantic Ocean. The commercial jet, carrying 189 passengers and crew, was en route from New York to London when it suddenly disappeared without a trace. Search and rescue teams scoured the area for weeks, but no wreckage was ever found. The disappearance of Flight 427 became one of the greatest aviation mysteries of the 21st century, leaving families in anguish and experts baffled. But 5 years later, something extraordinary happened. A transmission was received, seemingly from the missing plane, and the message it contained would shake the world to its core. The transmission was picked up by an amateur radio operator in Scotland, a man named Ian McAllister, who had spent decades tinkering with old equipment in his garage. At first, Ian thought it was a prank or a hoax. The voice on the other end was faint but clear, repeating the same phrase over and over. "Death doesn't exist, but..." Ian recognized the voice immediately. It was Captain Daniel Hayes, the pilot of Flight 427. Hayes had been declared dead years earlier, along with everyone else on board. But here he was, speaking as if no time had passed. Ian contacted the authorities, who were initially skeptical, but when experts analyzed the transmission, they were stunned. The signal bore all the hallmarks of authenticity, and the voice was undeniably that of Captain Hayes. The message was broadcast on a frequency that hadn't been used in decades, adding to the mystery. How could a signal from a plane that disappeared 5 years ago suddenly appear now? And what did the message mean? The phrase "death doesn't exist, but..." became a global sensation, sparking debates among scientists, theologians, and philosophers. Was this proof of an afterlife? A glitch in the fabric of reality? Or something else entirely? The families of the victims were torn between hope and despair. Could their loved ones still be alive, trapped in some kind of limbo? Or was this a cruel trick, a reminder of the loss they had endured? As the world grappled with the implications of the transmission, a team of experts was assembled to investigate. Among them was Dr. Emily Carter, a renowned physicist specializing in quantum mechanics and the nature of reality. Emily had always been a skeptic, dismissing claims of the supernatural as wishful thinking. But the transmission from Flight 427 challenged everything she believed. How could a signal from a missing plane suddenly appear years later? And what did it mean for our understanding of life, death, and the universe? Emily's investigation led her to a series of startling discoveries. She learned that similar transmissions had been reported throughout history, often in the wake of mysterious disappearances. In 1945, for example, a group of Navy pilots known as Flight 19 vanished over the Bermuda Triangle. Years later, a faint radio signal was picked up, allegedly from one of the missing pilots. The message was garbled, but one phrase stood out: "We're still here." Similar accounts had been reported by sailors, hikers, and explorers who had vanished without a trace, only to reappear, sometimes decades later, with strange stories of being somewhere else. Emily began to suspect that these disappearances were not accidents, but portals, moments when the fabric of reality had somehow been breached, allowing people to cross into another dimension or plane of existence. The transmission from Flight 427, she theorized, was a rare instance of communication between these worlds. But what was on the other side? And why had Captain Hayes chosen to send this particular message? The answer came in the form of a second transmission, this one even more shocking than the first. It was received by a research team in Iceland who had been monitoring unusual atmospheric phenomena in the wake of the initial broadcast. The signal was stronger this time, and the message was clearer. Captain Hayes' voice was calm but urgent as he spoke. "Death doesn't exist, but it's not what you think. We're not dead. We're here. But it's different. Time doesn't work the same way. There's no past, no future, just now. And there are others here too. People who disappeared long before us. They say this is just the beginning." The message sent shockwaves through the scientific community. If Captain Hayes and the passengers of Flight 427 were still alive in some form, what did that mean for the nature of existence? Was death merely a transition to another state of being? And if so, what was the purpose of this other realm? Emily and her team worked tirelessly to decode the transmission, searching for clues that might explain the phenomenon. They discovered that the signal was emanating from a point in space-time that defied conventional physics, a kind of rift in the fabric of reality. As the investigation deepened, Emily began to experience strange phenomena of her own. She would hear whispers in empty rooms, see fleeting shadows out of the corner of her eye, and feel an inexplicable sense of presence, as if someone, or something, was watching her. At first she dismissed these experiences as stress or fatigue, but then she had a dream, or perhaps it was more than a dream. She found herself standing in a vast, luminous landscape, bathed in a golden light. In the distance, she saw figures moving toward her. As they drew closer, she recognized them. They were the passengers of Flight 427, their faces serene and radiant. Captain Hayes stepped forward and spoke to her, his voice echoing as if from a great distance. "You're closer than you think," he said, "but you have to let go. Death doesn't exist, but you have to be ready to see what comes next." Emily woke with a start, her heart pounding. She knew then that the transmission was not just a message, it was an invitation. The passengers of Flight 427 were trying to communicate something vital, something that could change humanity's understanding of life and death. But to fully grasp it, Emily would have to confront her own fears and beliefs, to open her mind to possibilities she had once dismissed as impossible. The final transmission came on the 5th anniversary of Flight 427's disappearance. It was broadcast simultaneously across multiple frequencies, reaching every corner of the globe. Captain Hayes's voice was stronger than ever, filled with a sense of urgency and hope. "Death doesn't exist," he said, "but life is more than you know. We are here and we are waiting. We are. The door is open, but you must be ready to walk through it. Trust what you cannot see. Believe what you cannot prove. This is not the end, it's the beginning." The message ended with a series of coordinates, which Emily and her team quickly deciphered. They pointed to a remote location in the Arctic, a place where the boundaries between worlds were said to be thin. Emily knew what she had to do. She assembled a team and set out on a journey that would take her to the edge of the known world, and beyond. What she found there defied explanation. The air shimmered with an otherworldly light, and the landscape seemed to shift and change before her eyes. In the distance, she saw a doorway, a portal of swirling energy that pulsed with life. As she approached, she felt a sense of peace and clarity unlike anything she had ever known. She realized then that the passengers of Flight 427 had not been lost. They had been found, and they were waiting for the rest of humanity to join them. Emily stepped through the portal, and in that moment she understood the true meaning of Captain Hayes's message. Death was not an end, but a transformation, a journey to a new state of being. The afterlife was not a distant realm, but a dimension that coexisted with our own, waiting to be discovered, and the door was open to all who were ready to walk through it.